Today we take a closer look at a company under fire in the foreclosure crisis. MERS lets banks electronically register their sales of home loans. Is it a tool for efficiency, though, or part of the transparency problem? Megan Hughes sat down with the MERS CEO, and she has that story. Megan?
Matt, we've been hearing a lot about this company, and MERS is essentially a database. I heard one good analogy comparing the controversy over MERS to that surrounding electronic voting machines. There's no paper trail. It may allow for some fraud, but some say it's just more efficient. But of course, in the case of MERS, we're talking about the complex world of mortgages and securitization.
Before the nationwide paperwork mess, you may never have heard of MERS, the Mortgage Electronic Registration System, but it's a huge part of how deals get done. About 60% of new loans are on the MERS system. It's held 66 million loans since its inception and currently has about 25 million. This nondescript building in suburban Reston, Virginia, houses its national headquarters. Inside the MERS offices, CEO R.K. Arnold says his company is being made the fall guy in the mortgage mess.
We are taking a lot of heat. In fact, the MERS rules are as stout as the toughest foreclosure rules nationwide.
Arnold says that MERS was created back in 1995 to alleviate the bottleneck because county offices couldn't handle the flood of mortgage assignments. The company's tagline, process loans, not paperwork.
The industry said it's causing a mess. So let's create a system where MERS serves as a common agent for the entire industry.
But critics say the lack of a paper trail creates a system ripe for fraud. One consumer advocate says the ownership of MERS is also troubling.
This was an attempt by all the big banks to sort of avoid having to actually record transfers, but instead create this MERS entity and sort of trade and move things along as much as they can.
Its owners include major lenders from Bank of America and J.P. Morgan Chase to Fannie Mae. Arnold points to the servicers themselves, his own member banks, for any foreclosure mishandling.
Virtually every one of our members is going through their own audit of how this is done. And when it comes to foreclosure, MERS makes no decisions whatsoever.
Now, there's one additional thing to point out here about the relationship between MERS, this database, and the banks. Bank employees are also the certifying officers for the MERS database. Now, MERS, as I said, it is a database. It doesn't have very many employees. So the individual lenders, the banks, determine who on their staff will serve as a certifying officer. They're appointed as, say, MERS vice president and assistant secretary and given the authority to execute documents on behalf of the company. So it really is a blurry line. Matt?
All right, Megan Hughes covering that story for us. Thanks very much, Megan.